Okay, I'll cover Olay. I'll cover this for a hot minute, and I'm gonna try and do this as delicately as possible. I think it's really important that when you're going after a personality like Anna, who is clearly a turf, she's obviously racist, that you target it directly at her. And I feel like the leftist mafia is so involved in back scratching that you guys let yourselves get away with bad behavior.
These aren't real things. It's not real oppression. It's not a real problem. All of it is made up.
This is all intentional now. I'm no longer of the mindset that this is feigning ignorance.
She knew from day one that that comment would get that kind of reaction, and she intended it to.
Like, she kind of blamed, like, random Twitter people for me leaving. Like, I don't have agency over myself.
So she picks and chooses when she wants to be white.
All right, yay! Look at this impromptu. What is this? Three-fifths of leftist mafia.
A mini leftist mafia episode, if you will.
Listen, I had to run you down earlier, Mike. Literally, me and Lance were up, like, jumping up and down, like, yeah, let's do this. But like, Mike, where are you? Where are you?
I cannot tell you how long it took me to catch up, because the amount of shit that transpired on the internet by the time I was up, it was so overwhelming, and I'm like, this is gonna be a long fucking day, isn't it?
And it was.
You looked at your phone first thing. We're just like, what fresh hell is this? You know.
Which, by the way, this is why I can't watch your show live. Because it's like 3 hours fucking long. Who the hell has time to watch 3 hours of random live streamers who, I don't know, some of you, like, I think Olay actually has some activism cred, but, like, the rest of you, what do you do? What do you do? You're producing live stream content. Like, how much time do you think we can dedicate to this bullshit?
Oh my god.
After thing after thing, it's like, oh wow, what? Yep.
Yes. Yeah, it was very, very hectic. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
we had a subject of manufactured drama once again, as I correctly predicted. I must say, some people are not the kind of people to say "I told you so." I am not one of them. I told you all so.
Well
deserved. I told you so, though. Okay, you get
That's what
that.
brought us on, isn't it? That's the whole point of this. I was so honored, by the way. I was so honored and thrilled. Oh my God, I'm going to be the first white guest on the show. I'm so, I thought this is an awesome moment. And then all of a sudden it's no, it's just so you can rub it in our faces.
I love that
Finally.
we're breaking the glass ceiling on Ole's channel as the first white. We've come so far.
Platform. Oh, it's so
We're
nice.
finally having our moment. I thought white people would never have a moment in America.
I had a white friend text me and tell me that my show need more white representation.
Really?
Yeah. And he was dead ass, no LOL.
I was joking.
Well, I could tell you that Clickbaity Thirst Trap would disagree with you there. Because, if you have a certain goal of the kind of messaging you want to put out and which communities you want to advocate for, you do what you do, right?
Okay.
Oh, well, that's not necessarily something I would say, considering that the entire internet is very white. Our show is very white. I wouldn't have said that.
You can have the rest of the internet, okay? Yeah, that's
Yes.
Right.
So, I've seen I think it's funny because, normally you would think if somebody is going on a right wing press tour with your name and MO in specific, trying to obviously galvanize right wing hate towards you, that you would notice. But the funny thing is, the way that they already hate me, I was like, this really is a testimony to the difference between what it's like to be a white woman out on the internet and to be a black woman. I'm like, they always hate me, child. So this is a new babe. So I got the memo. I'm like, oh, you calling me out by name? That's interesting and stupid of you to do.
So, because they don't ever explain anything when they jump into their topics, Olay got targeted by Anna Kasparian. And unfairly targeted by Anna Kasparian. Because Anna Kasparian is a racist TERF. And she's made that quite clear to us through her statements, not only on Twitter, but also on her live show and other interviews in recent months.
So here we are. Here we are, because I have been lighting her up.
I mean, you survived the Rising's audience. You can survive anything.
Honestly.
You're battle tested.
Honestly. Yeah, no, she's outrageous though. This is good. And and it's not just even just, they've gone full, let me not just say she, because obviously Jane is in this too. But full turf, like quite literally, that turf. Like not a bad take. There's not one bad take. This is now the new school of thought she's espousing, that she knows is some bullshit, that she knows is the right-wing playbook. She knows it because she's literally been on record saying so before. So, this is clearly
11 months ago. 11 months ago, if I want to say, hey, what's the correct take on this whole birthing person controversy, would have been like, well, I would say what Anna Kasparian said 11 months ago. That because here's you on camera completely agreeing with Olaymi's take, with and then that was the
now you claim I'm gaslighting you.
Yeah, and also apparently calling her racist for that. And that's why she called me a racist. I was like, that's not true at all. This is not the retelling of actual events. This is a very
just lying.
Reality, yeah.
That's what's so bizarre is the claim of gaslighting. After I heard her make that claim, I went back and I watched our entire episode on that, just because I like to make sure that, I'm trying to be as charitable as possible, because my goal is to change minds, not drag people, although, we're at that point. But, my goal is to always make sure that I'm coming from a place of love and understanding regardless. And I watched our entire episode, and I thought we were incredibly kind, almost patronizingly kind with the amount of kid gloves we had on. And then listening to your interview with Laverne Cox, it felt so validating to hear her say that you all approached the situation with love, because that's genuinely how I felt. And perhaps she didn't take it that way, but I came to her as a friend who has known her for years. And I try to explain to her my position and the position of other people, because
I want you to pay attention to that, because Anna is friends with Mike and with David, right? And so she doesn't want to come after them because she feels like they could somehow be valuable to her in the future for her career, right? So she doesn't want to come after them too hard. But Olay, she doesn't have a relationship with. And she apparently is a racist bitch, right? So because Olay has commentary that even though she was just weighing in, she wasn't even the one driving the conversation. Olay was the one that has some pretty cutting words. She's got a pretty sharp tongue, shall we say. And because Anna is a racist goddamn bitch, she attacked Olay. But I want Olay, I want you to understand, you can't attribute that to all white women. There are a lot of us who are activists in the field that are working for all people, not just our own interests. And so it's hurtful to us if you're trying to paint Anna Kasparian as representative of all white women. That's hard on us. You know, like we've been doing the work too to get people of color into office and to advance issues that help everybody, even specific marginalized groups, and the issues that affect specific communities, not just like the economic progressives, but like all of it. There's some of us out there working really hard for this shit, and so it's hard to have all white women painted as Karens.
Want her, I would expect her to do the same to me. I would expect you, Ole, to come to me if I said something sexist and say, Mike, this is where you fucked up, because I don't have that lived experience. So as somebody with trans family, specifically a non-binary person where in my family where inclusive language is important, I would have expected at least a little bit more introspection. But the fact that I didn't get that is really frustrating to me, right? Because this is somebody who is extremely intelligent. Anna and Jang, they've been in the game way longer than any of us, right? I've been watching TYT.
That's incredibly generous, Mike. These are not intelligent people. They are not intelligent people. They're intelligent in business, sure. They're intelligent in the way of getting Telemundo money and getting funding for what they do. But their actual commentary is not intelligent. That's why I stopped watching. Like, I barely watched them in 2016. And then I was like, wow, these people are dumbasses. I don't want to watch them anymore. This is not the kind of moral values I grew up with. Why would I want them in my lives? These are dumbass people.
Since 2008, before Obama was elected, they know that the things they say are going to be interpreted and used in certain ways. And the fact that they have chosen to do that means that I can no longer simply chalk this up to ignorance or them being mad that we corrected them and that the leftists on Twitter, Lance, decided to call him out or call them out. You know what I mean? Like, this is deliberate. And they know what they're doing. They're intelligent, they're grown-ups, they're savvy. So the fact that they've chosen to go down this path means that people have a right to be angry. People have been watching the show for a long time, and to feel like they've been betrayed, that's a human response to this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's always been my position, right? Is that this is deliberate. That's the thing. What my initial position was, and I said it. I said, "Oh, I like Anna. It's not nothing to do with Anna." But first of all, since we're having the conversation, which I didn't bring to the table, I'm not the reason I didn't bring it up on Leftist Mafia, right? But having this conversation is about an hour. It's about an hour or something into that video before I'm like, my God, you know what I mean? Like we are definitely coddling her, and we're.
You were the easy target, Ole, because she doesn't have a relationship with you, and she's a racist, right? So you were the easy target. And you know it. You know that that's why she came after you. Because she felt, it's not only is it because of your race, it's because you're a woman, right? She didn't attack the men on the show. Right? Everybody else on the show is a man. But you're the easiest target. And this is how it goes for all of us. Not just black women, but also white women. That's why it's hurtful for you to compare Anna to all other white women, because a lot of us also deal with this sort of thing. You're going to deal with it probably more because of your race. You're right. But all of us deal with it. It's harder for all women in life. She doesn't want to attack the men on the show because she feels like they could potentially advance her career.
Making this about defending her, which I think is a very like paternalistic desire in the way that like white women are held up as something to like take care of and to protect, right? This like delicate white woman type of behavior. But I said it then that the thing that was ridiculous to me, it was always intentional.
You're giving her fuel by saying that. Don't do that. Attack her directly. Please attack her directly. Because you are giving her fuel by doing that.
We knew, we all know, we know our lane of the internet. We know what you say, don't say. We know what's going to elicit certain responses, blah, 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 blah. She knew from day one that that comment would get that kind of reaction, and she intended it to. That's why I said it didn't make sense for us to be spending all this energy coddling her, because she wanted this reaction. This has always been, my position was always that this is obviously a part of a larger pivot. It always was. It was very clear. She needs, because the reason why, it's not us bringing this up. It was, I don't even know when it was. I think it was months ago now when this happened, right? She's decided to go on this right-wing little press run, doing all of this, calling our names and blah, 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 blah. She's the one who is throwing her friends under the bus, doing Emma Vigeland and all these different people bad, right? She's the one. And it's because she needs that. She wants the narrative you see that from the very beginning, from it first started happening of her coming after me on Twitter or her tweeting with the right, her position was always making it look at how the left is. They dogpile, you know what I mean? And blah, 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 because she wanted to create the narrative that she's seen play out a million times before of why the left. Oh, the left is this, blah, 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 blah. So she needed to create the perception that look at all these commentators, all these everybody coming after me. And when it didn't, because everybody was so charitable, all the people in her lane, all of everybody else, what did she need to do? She needed to strum up that controversy, that kind of fight, to paint it to the right. That's why she waited 3 weeks to come on a completely innocuous tweet that I made about Angel Reese, completely unrelated to her, and started this. And from the beginning, she has been, and listen, it's not a mistake, it's not an accident, it's not getting it. She's a liar. She's a fucking liar. And she's a liar in 4K. All of these things are recorded. From her initial saying to me, oh, like the kind of people who demand you cook your friends. First of all, that never happened. What I said was, you came, there's no reason for us to be coddling you because you wanted to be cooked. You asked Twitter to cook you on purpose. You'd have that tweet still up. You've doubled down on this position. So this is clearly the reaction you wanted. I said you wanted to be cooked. I never said cook your friends, but let's pretend I did. Let's pretend that's what happened. Me, a person who has no personal relationship with you and who is not your homegirl by any means, shape, or form. I know you on the internet. I've had maybe less than a handful of Twitter interactions with you. I've appeared on your show where you and your co-host have disrespected the fuck out of me. I've still been very nice to y'all. That would, my crime, it would be so egregious. You would consider that offensive to you, that if I were to say, oh, cook her. Meanwhile, you're dragging your own friends and colleagues, dragging them through the fucking mud, disrespecting them, lying on what they're saying, mischaracterizing them, feeding them to right-wing hate. Who's real fucked up here? Even if we were going on the friendship analysis, like she tried, because that's how she tried to paint this originally. Like some kind of betrayal was like, how she tried to present it as though the rest of the show, the white people, are her friends, her personal friends. And
yeah, if you take a look at Andrea's coverage of this particular topic, Andrea talks, who, by the way, has more of a position to talk about this subject than any of us, because Andrea is a transgender woman. She talks about how Anna went on an extreme right-wing show over last weekend and absolutely trashed the leftist mafia, this is 3 out of 5 of the people who show up on Thursdays to do this show. And she's attacking Olay, who's the only female on the show. She's the only black person on the show. And it's incredibly bizarre that they think that Anna and Chank, who has her back entirely, think that they can get away with this over and over again, and that we're not going to notice it, you know?
They were all on her side, and the big bad black woman has decided, was trying to convince her friends to bully her. None of that is true, but it was deliberate. And I've said this because this is a playbook. Everybody you know on the internet that is does their right-wing grift or whatever it is, or they start going this way, they find some black woman on the internet to feed to the fucking wolves. They do it all the time. I could think of a million of them, but there's no point me bringing up the names and causing any more commotion around them. But they do that. And that's clearly what she's wanted to do to me. And I find that, I was talking to Lance about this earlier, it says something to me, the way that everybody jumped out the fucking window to defend a 40-year-old woman with one of the largest fucking platforms in leftist independent media, with all the money in the world, but nobody is cared about the 29-year-old black girl that she keeps fucking trying to feed the name to the right? Let's pretend. So it's so bad that you were criticized for a take you put out on the internet. She's literally actively serving me to the right, like intentionally continuing to do this, hoping that it mobilizes this kind of hate towards me, right? Like, let's be real. Anna Kasparian has, again, TYT must have like 1 million subscribers or something on YouTube, no? Right? Like would she have like 500,000 followers on Twitter or whatever it is? So you are actively you put out this tweet that she put out, the initial tweet had over 100,000 likes. It had thousands of people criticizing her, quote tweeting her, blah, 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 blah. Me.
I feel you, girlfriend. I've gotten dragged by no Miki Kunst before on Twitter. And I'm not even like a live stream personality like you are. Like, I have 359 followers on Twitter, on YouTube. I get you, girlfriend. I get you. Some of these personalities, some of these white chicks, especially, because they seem to be more petty, but it's not like you can attribute that to all white chicks, right? There's a lot of us out there who are actually trying to do the Lord's work. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, was not one of those people. Let's let the record reflect. I never quote tweeted. I never said nothing to her on Twitter. I never commented. I never anything. I sat on the show with my other co-hosts who brought up a topic and they were talking about it, and I shared the same exact sentiments as them. So why me? Why, of all the people in this arena, why me singled out even from the jump of leftist mafia? Why?
You know why.
And I'm like, this has always been that. It's very clear to me, and I think it's interesting and it's very telling the way that angle of it, and just the fact that it, even in us talking about, it's not just that she's a full turf. She's also spewing a whole bunch of propaganda, racist foolishness, microaggressions, on all these different things, and even this whole to try to indictment of saying I called her a racist. That never happened. That simply had never happened. That never happened. I didn't even call her a turf or anything like that. I said on the show, I think we are focusing on this and coddling her instead of having a conversation about the substantive problem with her comments. I never even was trying to talk about her. So that's one. And Lord,
no, you're right.
Well, I did have a quick point that I wanted to say.
You go.
Both of you are bringing up. Yeah. The fact that you're both mentioning, and I completely agree with this, that there is this whole kind of like, you were given so much good faith criticism from people who kept coming from like, this is coming from a place of love, we're colleagues, we respect you and all this kind of stuff. What were the two, I guess, transphobic takes that became quite popular that she's done since? One of them is saying that Jesse Singal is misunderstood, which is just wild because Jesse Singal is such a transphobe that he's got his own article in GLAAD, like Jesse Singal.
Which, by the way, even Hassan Piker has covered that. He's covered this particular story as well, and is in total disagreement with his uncle's take, Cenk Uygur, and Anna's take. He covered this too. I watched it last night. I watched it yesterday, but I watched it again with my boyfriend at night. And it's just like, how can you be so fucking ignorant, Anna? Oh my God, even.
At this point, is a well-documented person pushing an agenda. He wrote an article in The Atlantic that was basically praising someone who does conversion therapy, which I'm sure everyone understands at this point is torture. The guy is a complete asshole. He's actually potentially going to be in a lot of trouble through HIPAA for potentially revealing sensitive patient-client doctor privileged information in his pursuit of pushing this transphobic shit. And what was the other one that just came out? She was randomly talking about, she was arguing with Juniper today, who's also like a trans activist / incredible comedian and entertainer.
And will be showing up.
Yeah, who's going to be joining, I think, the show very shortly. That one was ridiculous. I'm trying to think of what her other one was.
God damn, how long is this?
The civil rights. It was really the civil rights comment today. It was the civil rights comment that got me.
She found a way to both disparage the civil rights movement and be transphobic.
And that makes me remember my original. I remember my original comment.
That's true.
Yeah, so I did not call her I never called her racist, and none of that is what happened at all. Now, what happened is when you attack me on Twitter and you're trying to perpetrate like you are something that you are not, and you are mobilizing hatred towards me, what I did was share a video of you saying the fucking N-word a million times. Now, if you extrapolate a compilation of you saying it to mean that, because that is what one would think about a white person who does something like that, then that's on you, baby girl, but I didn't say that about you. But more importantly, I want to say this. There's this need and this desire, like not white people or all white people, but obviously what racists in the side of the aisle like to do is you think that because you live in fear of being called a racist or something, or like you think you can like shame me, the race car because I'm black or something, like, I'm gonna quiver if I were to call somebody racist. If I call you racist, it's because I believe you're racist and I'll put my whole back into it. I don't give a fuck. You think that, like that's to weaponize, make me a criminal to the right, because to the right that is, how dare this black woman dare say something about you? How dare she criticize you or call you that? And also, I will say this, and I said it early on last show. I had never called.
Oh, but she says she's white passing. Ole. She says that because she's Armenian and she's blonde, she's white passing. That's as far as I know. I mean, maybe my geography is bad here, but I think Armenia is like Eastern Europe, right? Like, isn't it? I mean, am I wrong here? I think Armenia is like Eastern Europe. It's like a Mediterranean. This is another conversation I had yesterday because we still in America, right? Our government forms still include Hispanics, Latinos, Chicanos as white, but we categorize that they get like a subreddit. They get like a subcategory on the forms because obviously they face racism as well, but they are considered white. However, like something like that, like Armenian, I mean, basically, unless you are first generation and you're still struggling with learning English, you will be white passing. You're absolutely white passing. Like, nobody's gonna be like, oh yes, I don't think you're there is no way she's ever like, but she's trying to push that off, like, oh well, I'm white passing. Okay, Anna.
I'll do a racist, but I'll call you one now because I definitely, first of all, everything that has come out of your mouth in the last year that I have been privy to the work that you do and from you and Jenk is some racist propaganda, foolishness, some absolutely destructive bullshit. That's one. But two, you think it's lost upon me that you singled out the black woman here? Like you think I think that is a mistake? You think I think that a white woman that used her platform to be just doing all of these things and saying whatever and saying the N-word on wax, you think I think you're not? So I don't have a problem with that. You could tell them I said you're racist.
I don't think this is the first time this has happened to you, Ole. Didn't this happen in the past too? Didn't she do this before? And didn't Illuminati do it too? I mean, like, weren't there other people? Like, it seems like they target you a lot, right? And so I can understand why you're like super frustrated with these dumbass people, but please don't generalize it to like all white women, because like there's a lot of white women who actually really appreciate you.
I think you're racist. I think you're a transphobe. I think you're disingenuous. I think you have no integrity. And I think your show is whack. So
yeah.
Well, in that Leftist Mafia episode, So there was a moment in particular where you were analogizing and you brought up race specifically to use your lived experience to communicate it in terms of like the trans issue. And I do the same thing as like a gay person because that's my lived experience. So it's the way. And like somebody in the chat said, "Oh, Ole's bringing up race," and you explained why that is the case. That's the only mention of race in the entire video. So it doesn't even make sense to claim that you called her racist.
She's literally just lying.
Yeah, and furthermore, in terms of like cooking your friends, like when she says that you told you wanted, what was it that she said to you that you were
the
demanding?
kind she said, "Oh, Ole, the kind of hater who demands you cook your friends."
Oh yeah, it was something like that. When it's like I would assume that she's mostly talking to me and David because me and David were like the closest. Over the last couple of years with her, right? We bonded over like 2020 and other bullshit, other, left wingers, ironically, that kind of shifted to the right and their attacks, Jimmy Dore. But like I would have been in that instance the one who's being asked to cook my friend. Not a single instant that I think that Ole was demanding that I cook my friend. And even if you did, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's so, here's the way that I interpret that. It was you just can't hear criticism. You take things and you hyperbolize it and you make it into something that it's not because the fact that if my friends were all criticizing me, I would be upset. But having said that, though, again, we used the fucking kid glove. Like, we had 2 pairs of kid gloves on. Sure. So it's not like we were trying to be malicious at all. And I feel confident about that now after rewatching it. Because that was what I always, try to be introspective and think, okay, from somebody else's perspective. But
that is absolutely true. You guys are way too generous to your fellow live streamers who are fucking up. You're way too generous to them.
Maybe I was a little bit too harsh. No, I don't think that we were. I think we were perfectly fair. And if anything, what really is a good gauge of how well we did was that, we had Kenny on in that podcast, and this was an outside voice who didn't even know who Anna Kasparian was. So without that context, she just saw the tweet in a vacuum. And even she said, this is bad. This is why people interpret that as transphobic. So to have people who are close to you and an outsider's voice tell you that you're doing wrong, and the only takeaway is that you feel attacked, but only by Ole, it's outrageous to me. And it's so frustrating because, again, we've all been in these predicaments where we have been bad allies, right? I'm a gay guy, but I'm a cis white guy. I have had trans people tell me, Mike, not a good look. And I explained this in that same fucking video where I'm like, I was misgendering Pim Iverson, or Kim Iverson, no sense in using a moniker. And trans people were like, Mike, we don't want to normalize any misgendering, okay? You're not making the point that we want you to make. I had to apologize. Lance, I heard him talk about how he made a joke, a trans joke. It was a little bit edgy, and people were like, hey, you can't make that joke. We've all had to eat shit.
Yeah, I've been dragged. Twitter has packed me up multiple times this year, 3 times this year. This year.
Right.
And I this year. And people, listen, people criticize me and people I like, you know what I mean? In fairness, all the time. When the Blair stuff was happening, I was on a Demon Mama stream where Demon Mama said, okay, I have to criticize Ole a little bit here or whatever, and she did. And it was fine. And I was on the stream, I spoke her, and she was it happens. You know what I mean? It's going to be if it's not there blowing down, and no one blew down on her. But quite frankly, like I said from jump, honestly, I wish we fucking had. If we were going to be if I was going to be the foil, I wish I'd laid into her from jump. You know what I mean? Gonna be the part of this silly plot, and that is the thing about it. And she is the one talking about it, and also what she was doing from jump. Even when she responded to me and all of this, when she because attention, this has never been about it. She's talking past us. She's talking to the right. We are literally just a means to an end. We're little, pieces on a board for her. When she started this, when she's like, I am a woman, period, no apologies. When have I ever said she wasn't? when has that ever been the conversation? Not never. The conversation has always been, and she knows it. She's not fucking, she can hear. She hears us, okay? She knows what the fuck we're saying. She's responding to it and cursing people out. So it's not like she's not seeing what people have to say. She sees it. She knows. And again, she's on record having recognized the positions before. You know what it is. You know what it is. The point is not that you aren't a woman or that you can't call yourself a woman. The point is that no one was ever fucking stopping you from doing it, but you were pretending, you were taking a bullshit made up right wing talking point that trans people are in some way trying to fucking suppress or stop your womanhood or allow you to call yourself that blah 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 blah, and you create a non-issue in order to fuel and galvanize more hate towards this group of people. That is the fucking issue. She knows it's the fucking issue, and it's so crazy for her to say we're gaslighting her when she's the one gaslighting us. All I ever did, my response to Anna was this, you with a video of her saying it.
Right.
You guys y'all need to say it though. She's specifically attacking transgender men who still have a uterus. She's trying to say, I don't want to be associated with transgender men who have a uterus and would also be affected by reproductive rights. That it needs to affect them too, and so the language in legislation needs to be generic enough that it applies to anybody who has a uterus, right? That's where she was going with that. But I think she also, I don't know if I'm right on this one. Has she also recently gone after I think it was Cenk, right? Cenk went after transgender women for competing in sports, and there's like 150 total athletes within the entire country that are transgender women that are competing in female sports, right? These two people are so disgusting that I just don't know why you all and I don't know why the activists in LA still have relationships with them. I really don't get it.
Yeah, it's all oppression simulation. Like, honestly, every part of this is oppression simulation. These aren't real problems. The newest one that she's still got up to, now she deleted a whole bunch of tweets. She deleted the civil rights tweet and all that shit. But she has one that's still up right now talking about how, hey, did you know that there's a phenomenon? There's this British LGBTQ plus organization that is demanding we remove the term vagina and replace it with the term bonus hole. And did you know that this is a real problem? And I'm like, none of this shit is real. This happened in 2020. It happened 3 fucking years ago. And just because one random LGBTQ plus org, does a thing way off in Britain, doesn't mean the totality of what civil rights are asking for is like, well, you have to now use bonus hole or nothing, or you're a bigot. Like, these aren't real things. It's not real oppression. It's not a real problem. All of it is made up.
And again, she knows that taking these limited, taking an anecdote and using that to extrapolate and make broader generalizations, this is what the right does. This is harmful. And the reason why so many people are calling her out is because she has a massive, massive platform. And here's why I think it's necessary to call it out, right? People can accuse me of trying to do drama and clickbait, but here's what I think at the end of the day. This is arguably as, if not more, damaging than the transphobia that we see from right-wing outlets. Because if a liberal person listens to the Daily Wire and they see transphobia, that's expected. They dismiss it. But to a liberal person, TYT has legitimacy. And so if they think, well, TYT said that, trans activists are wrong here, maybe they're also wrong there. What else have I gotten wrong? It basically opens the door to broader transphobia. And this is what these right-wingers try to do, right? They try to find areas, little weaknesses where they can get into your brain and they plant that seed, and that's all that they need. And so for TYT to do this, that's really, really, that's damaging. They have 5 million subscribers and growing. And furthermore, and this is why this is all intentional now. I'm no longer of the mindset that this is feigning ignorance. I had to fight past that cognitive dissonance because I've been on great terms with them. I've been a network partner for 6 years. But the reason why this is all intentional is because has there been any introspection after they lost 3 LGBTQ plus contributors? So I left on May 1st. You all heard about that. It was a disaster for me because I lost monetization, but I couldn't co-sign beliefs that I thought were harmful to my family, to other trans people. Sandy Lovas, a non-binary TOIT contributor, left, also condemned the network. Benny Carollo, she just left and
she'll be joining
condemned
us.
the network. Yes, she'll be joining us. So when you have 3 LGBTQ plus people leave the network, specifically denouncing the transphobia, if that doesn't trigger introspection, nothing will. Nothing will, right? Because that's not your lived experience. So you've got to take it from trans people. And you got to take it from LGBTQ plus people. In the same way that we have to take it from the communities with this lived experience. So
Well, I just want to tell you straight up, I can tell you that there's still a lot of high-level activists in LA that still support that network. And they don't know who you are. And they don't care. Because they think that by rubbing elbows with Jimmy Dore and Cenk Uygur, they're somehow going to advance policy. Which it's never going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. And you're not doing enough. Because you guys were rubbing elbows with them too. So you need to be louder about this.
if Ole tells me I did something sexist, maybe I don't want to believe that, but I have to listen to her because I don't have that lived experience as a man. If Ole says what you said was racially insensitive, Mike, I have to listen to her because I don't have that lived experience. My lens of the world is very different than Ole's lens. Her experience is different from mine. This is the part of being an allyship. And we all fuck up. None of us are perfect allies. None of us are, because we don't have that lived experience. We have our subjective experiences, right? And we can never escape our own subjectivity. But when people explain to you in good faith why you fucked up, for you to double down, that is intentional. And we're not talking about dumb people. We're talking about very smart people here.
And I think the silly part is, or the wild part is the fact that, again, it's a concern. It's not even just double down, like, oh, you say something once and then we blow down on you, and so in your response, you double down. This is not months later. You are choosing to go. If this was such a harmful thing, this is so stressful for you. If the left, if we were so dangerous to you, if we made life so miserable, if this was wasn't what you wanted, why are you deliberately, voluntarily choosing to go on press runs, talking about this, calling people out by name, bringing this? Why do you continue to bring this back up? The original had started with her 3 weeks after a tweet, after getting ratioed to death. 3 weeks later, she comes after everybody. Right now, this is now months later. Now you're appearing on these shows talking about it for what? For why? No one else is doing it. I just had a Laverne Cox interview. Laverne brought up Anna Kasparian, and did I jump on her? Did I anything? No, I didn't take any opportunity then to rehash this or come for Anna. I've never done it. I've never posted a video. No one is doing it. So where is it happening? I'm not leading any Anna Kasparian hate club. No, and that's what I've always said. This is a part of a deliberate plan. I don't think this has ever been about being offended by what any of us have ever said. I think, not at all. The BRB, by no means. Anna's been getting shit on by thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and more powerful and important commentators than us, people with bigger platforms, all these different things. This is a ploy. This is an attention ploy. And I think, I think it was very important for us to, talk about it, vent about it very transparently. And also, though, give, the opportunity. We're going to have Soul Bunny, Juniper, and Benny join us, so they could talk about it. And honestly, from that point, I'm going to sit back and let y'all kind of handle this, my queer folk. Honestly, I mean, listen, people love they hear things. Unfortunately, they like to give more legitimacy when a cis person says something in defense of queer people. And I think that's some bullshit. You know what I mean? I really think it's some bullshit. You appreciate when I loosely paraphrase, one talking point of 19 points that queer people would actually be able to have and inform you of. And I think that's nonsense. I've been I've been celebrated many a time for, to me, the most ABC behavior in the face of transphobia. Like, I am not saying nothing scholarly you can quote. They're just being transphobic as fuck. Like, they're just being wild. Like, but I'm never going to be the person that's able to best offer you truly the substantive takes on that and really talk about that. And so that's why I want all y'all here. That's why y'all got to be my, to finally appear at the show, Lance and Mike.
Can I say just one quick thing before I forget about what both of you are talking about, though? You're both mentioning really important points about why this is so dangerous, and I just want to add to what Mike said. Almost every single time there's been a controversial bill, especially in a red state, that's been brought up and then discussed within some form of government, they start to use, and by they I mean right-wingers, they will use sources that are not right-wing, such as an article in the BBC, an article in The Atlantic by Jesse Singal, an article in the New York Times, by a perspective that comes from the center or the left or liberals, something like that, where they can say, it's not just us saying this, look at this. Here is TYT, Progressive Network, and Anna Kasparian agreeing with us that puberty blockers are dangerous for kids. And that's why that's so dangerous for her to start saying that kind of shit. It's ascientific. Every major medical association in the United States agrees upon this. For you to start to fearmonger and spread that shit, it's going to be used especially against the trans community now. That's what
Absolutely.
Yeah, legitimacy is what makes what they're saying so potent, right? Because it's like, oh, it's not what Jordan Peterson says. This is a liberal person. Cenk and Anna from TYT. They're the home of progressives. If they're saying it, then there must be some credence to their claims. And it's not just like the birthing person tweet and some of the things that they're talking about. It goes back to that civil rights movement tweet that she deleted, which was a good move.
Oh, that running is really epic.
Not tweeting it would have been very good because, I mean, it's ahistorical for one, right? It's ahistorical. And on top of that, you as a cis person don't get to dictate the terms of trans activism. And that is something that you have to understand. It's not your head on the chopping block, it's theirs. I think they know pretty well how to advocate for themselves.
So that's basically what she acts. That's the worst part, is she does know their heads on the chopping block. What she basically said, which is, by the way, what a sick... I mean, again, the right-wing playbook is to take MLK and use him for fuckery. But what she's saying is, in the name of respectability politics, she's saying, hey, black people, sat there and got lynched and hosed down and everything or whatever, and were, they took it. So they're killing you and all of that. Would you dare be uncivilized and fight back?
Like, the white supremacist violence is never mentioned. It's like you never hear about the lynchings, never hear about any of that. Like, I try to say things like, hey, by the way, did you know that at one point in U.S. history, black people did pick themselves up from their bootstraps, and then white people burnt Tulsa to the fucking ground. Like, there's a long history of extremist violence towards other groups, towards Native people, towards black people, but then all you hear is like, well, what about that peaceful resistance? Why can't we all...
Park.
Central
Park is built on the top of a successful black community. Literally built on top of it. There is a plaque and everything. Seneca Village, baby. Look it up. Thank you for joining me, Benny, Juniper, Soul Bunny, my loves.
All right, I'm going to stop here because it's a 2-hour long video and I don't have enough space on my phone to do that much. But I will grab the link to this.